Music Business, What Is This? Is a podcast that focuses on the ever-changing music industry and presents issues and concerns that the average and above average musician has or will encounter. All right, here we are once again. Welcome to Music is Business.
What is this?
I'm Richard Johnson.
I'm Jeremiah Hunt.
Thank you guys for joining us. Today we're going to talk about club owners. That's right, club owners. What's the first thing that comes to your mind when I say club owner?
The club owner typically is someone who's going to make those decisions. Who's going to be in their club? Like, how is their club going to be represented as far as what type of music, they bring into their venue?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, club owners, they generally don't get the best rap.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Not that they're bad, but just people don't see them in an amazing light. And there's reasons. It's our society. It's movies. It's kind of like The Manager. But there are great club owners out there. We have some amazing club owners here in Chicago that have helped out plenty of people in the jazz scene, the rock scene, salsa. There are really great ones. So got to give 2 thumbs up for those good club owners. That's right, because without them, a lot of musicians would be sitting in their basement. All right, so what's the roles and responsibilities of a club owner?
Google says, club owner and or any of their respective directors, officers, shareholders, owners, employees, agents, trainers, contractors, franchises, successors, and assigns, collectively the companies.
Okay, so basically what that means is who's on the lease, who's in charge, who's on the board. A lot of times I think in music, we get the club owner mixed up with the club manager, right? A lot of times they're 2 different people. Okay, let me say that again. A lot of times the club owner is different than the club manager. Right. So when you have complaints, you have to really figure out, where is this email going? Is it going to the owner or to the manager? For example, you go to a club, you get there, time's supposed to start is 8:00. They say we need you to start a little later. You can say, well, we have a contract. Okay, who was the contract with? Was it with the club owner or the club manager? Right? 2 different people.
Yeah.
Right? They both should be abiding by it, but at the same time, whose name is on it? Who signed it? Who's this issue with? Is the issue with the club owner or is it with the club manager? Right? A lot of times we have it confused. Most club owners are cool. If they say start at 8:00, they want you to start at 8:00. And there's several reasons for that. One being, probably they want the club to close at a certain time. So the later you start means the later it's going to go on. You got to remember, there's laws. Every city has different laws they have to abide by. So generally most club owners are like, hey, if it says this, they're businessmen or business group or board, blah, 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 let's follow through. Now, the club manager sometimes has the power to change some of those things accordingly. For instance, if there's another big festival in the city and there's lots of traffic and everybody's late, okay, let's postpone it 20 minutes so people have time to get here and park. That's okay, that's a reasonable decision. If the band and the club manager is okay with that, I'm sure the club owner is going to say, great, you work it out, you're the manager, that's what you're there for. Right, but we have to understand it's 2 different roles. Now, sometimes they're the same.
Yeah.
Right? The same person, right? So that's where you have to kind of make some strategic decisions and do some homework prior to, before you while out on somebody, right? Whiling out on the manager is not the same as the club owner. Right? Because that club manager may quit and reappear at another club you may be at in 3 years and not forget you. Right? Real talk here.
True.
Okay? So you have to understand, what are the roles and the functions. The club owner, the club manager. right? Generally, most club managers are cool, but they have to make decisions for the business of the club.
Right.
That's why they're there. That's what a manager does. They're managing employees, items to get the best result for the club owner, which usually results into higher funds, higher ticket sales, better customer service. Right? Ultimately, we have to remember we're musicians.
Yeah.
We're providing a service. Right? Now, that can go two ways. Having been a club manager at 4 different clubs, I've seen a lot of crazy stuff. Some crazy good, some really crazy bad. But we have to remember that those decisions are up to the manager. And hopefully, if you have a manager that has been a musician or understand musicians, you trust that they're going to make good decisions. If you don't have that, good luck. You never know what's going to happen. But in your mind, for a club owner, have you had generally good experiences or not so good? I won't say bad, not so good.
As a band leader, I've recently just started getting involved in communications with club owners and managers and stuff like that. And I would say, I guess because of my demeanor and my approach,
he has a very nice demeanor. He's a nice guy. You want him on your team, trust me. There's some guys you don't want on your team.
Yeah, because of that, managers, they typically respond well to me, and they, give me what I ask for, and it's a mutual respect, it's a mutual understanding. But in the past, I have had to learn from mistakes that were made by, I would say things that have happened because of the decisions of club owners. And
okay, so give us an example.
I was on a gig once, and I can't remember, it was a manager that was there, but we were in the middle of a tune, and I was on someone else's gig. It was a piano player, and we were playing a cover. The club manager wanted us to play a cover tune. We didn't know why, but we ended up just playing this cover. And the camera crew came in. There was just a random camera crew came in and started recording us. And
yeah, I've been there.
So after the set, we go over to the bar and we're just talking. I didn't think much of it. I'm just this young bass player who's happy to be on the gig. But the manager has us sign this release thing for so
I think I've been at this club. Honestly, I do.
Yeah. So the band leader, I look at him and he's okay. He signs it and everything. So I just follow the band leader's lead. And so we sign it. And it turns out that footage was being broadcast on a really big company's network. Anybody who flies into the city of Chicago would see this broadcast.
I know. I was in this exact same situation. It's funny you bring this up. So what was the outcome?
The outcome was I didn't get any money out of it.
Okay. I am so glad you're here today, because this is a excellent point, because we happen to both be in the exact same situation. I believe I know the club because this happened to the group I was in. Okay, now this is how I responded to the situation, and this is how it went down. I'm playing this club on stage. A tour bus of foreigners come in. Okay, no problem. I'm used to that. But it's obvious they're not from Chicago. Which cool. We're spreading the love of music. I'm playing, and then comes the film crew, the camera crews. Yeah. Right? So I'm like, because I play piano in the direction of piano, I can see all this. And I'm like, oh, okay. I'm gonna put on a good show. Okay? So I have to make some split-second decisions. Some people would say, you should have been made aware of that before. And I totally agree with that. Yes, I should have. That's one option. And there's several options. Another option is, between songs, I could have stopped and asked, what's going on? I didn't do that. Third option, all this is going through my brain, split second as I'm playing. Number 3, I can put on an amazing show and make these people just wow out. Love what I'm playing, love the band, right? And then we have a negotiation because they've got to give me a waiver or something to sign, right? So I'm going with option 3. I give them an amazing show. Afterwards, people buy a product, they want autographs, they're happy. People buying drinks at the bar. Here comes the waiver, right? They say, yeah, we're going to need you to sign this. Here, look at it. And it wasn't that long. It was like a couple paragraphs. So I read it, and I said, I'd like to take this home and think about it. Look it over, make sure I didn't miss anything, because right now I'm performing. I want to make sure I can put my full attention on this before signing it. Right? They weren't too thrilled about that. They were like, we've had other bands just sign it. I said, yeah, but, I'd like to really review this form so I can focus on it. Right now, you're paying me to focus on the music, right? Well, yeah. Okay. So I want to focus on the music because we have these customers here and they should have a great experience. They couldn't argue that. Okay. So we do that after the gig. Can you sign it now? I just finished playing. I want to take this and read it over and focus on it. You guys know me. You see me. I'll contact you. Took it. I also got the information of the film crew. Right? So make sure I've got their information and I got their names.
Write this down.
There you go. I got their names too. Fast forward. Get home. I've read it. I know what it says. It wasn't that difficult. I send the email to the club and I say, I love playing at your establishment, but I think this could have been handled a little bit better if you would have let me know. And they responded, well, we weren't sure they were coming. And I said, well, the film crew says they're from blah, blah, blah. They didn't just show up. Yeah. Right. So somebody knew. Right. So they were like, yeah, but can you just sign it? I said, well, we're going to have a different discussion about this because I was paid to play, not to be filmed by a professional crew. That's a different agreement. And at that point, they really didn't like it, but I didn't hear back from them in an email. Right. Having said that, they've still contacted me about playing. So our relationship for playing at that club it's fine.
Hasn't changed.
It hasn't changed because they still want that level of entertainment.
Right.
When I stepped it up and the people made them comments, it's proof. You can go to Yelp.
Yeah.
They can see it. Yeah. So there's nothing they could argue. So are they willing to risk losing that, which they may because they have thousands of artists,
right,
over this one piece of footage with me on it? That's the option I took, right? And I'm sure there's other options. I would encourage other people to write in what you would have done in that situation. We want to hear about those things because this is going to help everyone listening to this podcast, students, adults, everybody, because we need to know how are we going to address these situations when it happens.
Yeah.
Fortunately for me, while I'm playing, I'm processing all this information. Sometimes people can't do that. So you have to have some immediate go-to situations that will bail you out, that will buy you more time. Because immediately club owners or management will try and pressure you into signing something. And this is the same old story that's been happening for years, right? You turn on a musician movie. Hey, we've got this gig for you. Here, play, sign it. Okay, go on stage and play. Don't read it. Well, what do you mean don't read it? You're here to play. Right. But we're in a new age. You got to read the stuff. And if you can't read it then, read it later. But take the time. If you don't take the time, it always comes back to bite you.
Yep.
Right. And that's the things you have to have people help you look out for and learn from your mentors, your teachers, or your road manager. If you're on the road, if you've got a road manager, they can step in.
Yeah.
They should be able to circumvent that for you. But everyone doesn't have that. So we have to figure out how are we going to handle these different situations. And this happens in clubs. There's so many different situations that happens on site, on the festival, on the gigs. But we're specifically talking about club owners and their relationships. So some are good, some are not so good. But at the end of the day, you have to think about your welfare, your well-being, whatever that means to you.
Right.
Sometimes that means financial gain. Sometimes that means eating a good plate of food. Whatever that means, you have to consider that. But don't be pressured into a situation where you don't consider all those aspects.
Right.
Right. If they hire you to play, then that's the focus. And that was the focal point when I was talking to that manager, club owner.
Yeah.
I'm here to play. Let me focus on that. That's what you've contracted me. They couldn't argue that.
Absolutely.
Right. You have to give them something that makes sense for them that they're not going to fight with you on. Right. So that's how I address that. And there's plenty of different situations that have happened in clubs. Let me ask you about a situation. I had a friend. I have a friend. He's still my friend, thankfully. He was booked on a gig, and the club owner promoted the leader and the band. So he, by promotion, I mean put them on the website, social media. Then,
was he the leader or he was just in the band?
He was just in the band,
Okay.
not the leader.
Okay.
And then he got another call for a gig. And he contacted the leader and said, hey, I'm not going to make this gig. They had, I think, 6 weeks before the gig. And there was ample subs, other people who've done the gig. So that wasn't an issue with the band leader. No issue with the band leader. When the club owner was notified that the original musician wasn't going to make the gig, he reached out to the musician, not the band leader, and said, you need to be on this gig. Right.
That's interesting.
Right. I'd never heard that before.
No.
The club owner reached out to the musician personally and said, I promoted you on this gig. You need to be on the gig. And the musician said, who are you? He said, who are you? He literally had no clue who this person was.
Yeah.
And the person had to respond, I am the club owner of blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
It's actually a really funny situation. And he said, I was contracted by the band leader, and the band leader has no problem with me taking this humongous gig.
Yeah.
And the club owner went off on the cat and said, you're banned from playing at this club. What would you have done?
As the musician,
Yes, as the musician.
I think I would have done the same thing that the musician did. It's we as musicians, if we're working for a band leader and we have a contract with the band leader, that's between us and the band leader. It's not between us and the club owner. The band leader then makes the contract with the club owner, to my understanding. And you don't, it's unprofessional to call, to go outside of the band leader and to call one of their band members.
I was like, did this really happen?
Right.
And I know it really happened. I know the venue. I know everybody. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Because I never heard of that.
That's pretty extreme to
That's
go through.
very extreme.
Yeah. But that brings up a good point, because a lot of these club owners and promoters, really, when they book a band, especially if it's based off of an album that they just released or a project, they like to have all those musicians who are on
the
that
recording.
project,
Right, exactly.
to be there.
To be there. A lot of times they don't realize, though, that album may have who knows on it, and they charge blah, 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 and they've got their own band, they're their own leader. That's just not possible.
Right.
A lot of groups have the recording musicians and then the touring group, And to be honest, a lot of time the touring group is killing. is
Yeah.
much better because
they
they've
play
been
together
playing the
all the time.
music.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they know everything.
Exactly.
You know, so a lot of times it's like the club owners are actually hurting themselves without even knowing it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but these are just a couple issues you want to be ready for.
Right.
And figure out how you're going to deal with them. And hopefully you're in a non-confrontational situation where you have time to address it. Yeah. And that's one of the things with my story I wanted to bring up. I made time so I could take it home, review it, create some space. So it took that pressure element out of it.
Mm-hmm.
You never want to be pressured into doing something like that on the spot because someone else is going to benefit from, and it's never you.
Something that I'm learning every day. Take the time out and just think about what you're doing especially before you sign anything.
Yeah, it's crucial. It's crucial. And if you don't believe me, there's a Netflix show, Black Mirror.
Oh,
check it out. Selma Hayek.
Oh yeah. I know that one.
Yep.
Oh man,
it's the same old story.
Yeah.
And with that, we're going to end on that note for today. It's been a pleasure as always. Thank you for joining.
Yes.
He's Jeremiah Hunt.
And he is Richard Johnson.
And this is Music Business.
What is this?
See you later.